Okay. Welcome back into the postgame show on this Monday afternoon. It's 4 o'clock. Remember where you were.
Do you love M. Night Shyamalan movies?
Alongside Elijah Campbell.
Because this is about to resemble one.
I'm Jay Phillips.
Truly.
We are working as hard as we can to get further confirmation of this. And while what I'm getting ready to tell you is not a done deal, I will tell you that this comes from Teddy Cahill of Baseball America. I've thrown out as many feelers as I can in the last little bit here. It's hard to do a lot of research when I'm on the air. Teddy Cahill, Baseball America, longtime college baseball national reporter, says that South Carolina and Paul Mainieri are in talks for Coach Mainieri to become South Carolina's next baseball coach.
Huh?
Yeah. This is absolutely. This is again. I try in my profession and with my years of experience to not have too many things shock me. I didn't really know Coach Mainieri wanted to get back into coaching. I do remember that like his name was floated, I think, when Link Jarrett left Notre Dame for FSU, but it's only because Coach Mainieri had been there. Like, well, you know. He didn't retire because he didn't love coaching anymore at LSU. I think he was having some health issues that I suppose have been fixed. This is a man who has taken two different programs to the College World Series. He's a national champion. He's a national runner-up. I don't know how, I mean, he's got gobs of wins. Do we have his career? Can you look up his career record for me?
Well, we'll be looking it up.
I'm going to say he's got like 12 or 1,300 wins probably in college baseball. I mean, he's done it forever.
Hall of Famer. I mean, this is...
Again, this is not a done deal, but this would be gigantic. And would certainly, I think, satisfy what a lot of people are looking for. A proven veteran head coach with plenty of Omaha experience. Plenty of experience in winning at a high level consistently.
Over 1,500 wins.
Over 1,500 wins. Wow.
1,505,
Okay.
770, and 775.
Wow.
And 8 ties. Career winning percentage of almost 66%.
But he's 66 years old, so you're not going to be. This is not. I don't want to say it's temporary. That's not what I mean. But this might not be something where you're putting this guy in the seat for the next, 10 years.
Everything in life's temporary if you think about it, Jay.
Fair. And at that point, who does he bring with him, and all those kind of things. Again, what is the commitment to NIL and to, some facility enhancements if necessary? Those are all, I think, very pertinent questions, especially for a man like this coming in where at LSU, what do you need? Let's go get it done. And will that be the same? If he's the guy. You have also just let me know that our very good friend David Cloninger has said what? Here, I want to make sure because you saw it, I didn't, so...
Yes, David. When David tweets stuff like this, you have to believe that something's up. And David, I guess during the break, did tweet this out that South Carolina's Board of Trustees has called a meeting for 4 p.m. tomorrow. Quote, approval of athletics employment contracts, end quote, is on the agenda.
Okay. Now, that could certainly, to be fair here.
There's multiple openings.
There are 3 openings, and I know for certain that the leading candidate for the men's golf coach was on campus over the weekend.
So it could be that. Very much so.
And bear in mind, too, now, again, I'm not trying to dampen the mood. I'm giving you fact.
Context.
When the board calls a meeting, they must do it with 24 hours notice. So if David just put that out, then that means in the last hour, maybe they sent word to the Horseshoe, all right, y'all need to go ahead and schedule your meeting. Could be. I've been led to believe that they would like to make the baseball hire first because of the PR impact. It's interesting to me now to not just try to dampen the mood, but to try to, remove the dampness here and bring the heat back up. Teddy Cahill put this story out. Let me go back and look. At 3:48, not even 20 minutes ago. So let's say a national guy like Teddy, who's probably connected either to Coach Mainieri or Coach Mainieri's agent, because that's how this works in life. These national guys they got the ear of the agent. Gets word in the 3 o'clock hour. And then coincidentally, the South Carolina Board of Trustees calls a 4 o'clock meeting.
The timeline certainly is adding up.
The following day. This would be big for South Carolina. I think this would be one that because again LSU didn't want him to leave. He was just like, man,
He had some health stuff. I think he had some migraine issues.
But a couple of years away, maybe has re-energized him. He feels better, and he's ready to take it on again. So, and at the 11th hour, is this a name that crept in? Is this something where? And again, I don't know. Now we're just talking amongst ourselves. Does Ray Tanner call Paul Mainieri? Does Paul Mainieri's agent call Ray? Does Paul call Ray himself?
What kind of relationship do they have? They've coached against each other.
They did.
For a long time.
They did. So, interesting. Paul, in fact, did Carolina beat Notre Dame in 2003? I got to go back and look. And then right after that's when Paul went to LSU.
Yeah, he left. 2006 was Paul's last year at Notre Dame.
Okay. I was thinking it was right after, but it was a couple years. But
announced in the regional.
I know they were in one World Series together when he was at Notre Dame in Carolina. I think it was 2003, right? Am I right about that? That's fine. Yeah,
nope. South Carolina was in a different regional.
Okay. So they did not play each other in Omaha that year.
Nope, not that year.
Okay. But I knew he was there. So anyway, that's beside the point.
2002 might be it.
Okay.
I think that's you're off. Very close.
I'm trying. I'm old. This would be. Now I want to hear from you guys. All right. So, what do you think of this? Does this, for those who want Omaha experience, this certainly brings it.
In droves.
Tons of success in the Southeastern Conference. There's all kinds of things to like about this potential hire. But I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves.
Because we haven't even heard the name Paul Mainieri. Like me and you, we talked to a lot of people, and the name Paul Mainieri has not come up once in any of them. We've gotten like the same, a recycled list of like 4 or 5 names that we get, and not once has Mainieri come up, which is, this is a curveball to end all curveballs. It's a curveball that's, making Greg Maddux blush. This is remarkable. This has even gotten out. Teddy Cahill, it's not like,
Yeah, it's not just some dude.
It's not.
Teddy is, Teddy's basically, at BA, he's kind of the main guy. When you look at the guys at D1, there's sort of that triumvirate, right? And really 4 now with Joe Healy, too, who's doing a fantastic job. But, and I'm not, Aaron Fitt is a regular, Kendall Rogers is a great guy. Mark Etheridge was on Terry and Tyler's show last week. Aaron's been on with us, 3 or 4 times this season alone. He's on with us a bunch. Teddy Cahill is at their level, is my point. This is a national guy, and this is obviously a very well-respected publication within the industry. So Teddy knows what's up. Again, he's very, very well connected. Daryl just hit us on Twitter. If it proves to be Mainieri, you'll be able to knock me over with a feather. Yeah, Daryl, I didn't see this one coming.
You can do that to me right now.
Yeah, I would not have seen, because again, I just, my mind wouldn't go to Paul Mainieri if only because I thought he was done.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Health-based retirement at, over the age of 60 usually means you're not coming back.
And he's done well for himself. Maybe he and Mrs. Coach are enjoying, sailing around the islands and such, or whatever they like to do.
Maybe maybe one can only golf so much.
That's probably true.
Even though there is, in the midst of information hunting that we've been doing, there is a former D1 baseball coach that I talked to who's been out of it for a little bit, and he was like, I wouldn't mind getting back into coaching one day. We're just making small talk or whatever. And he's like, I wouldn't mind getting back into coaching one day. I can only do so much fishing and working out. I said, you know what? Fair. I don't blame you. Coaching makes him feel alive.
Yeah, that's why. I'm not a sit around kind of guy. I gotta, like, my wife doesn't mind on Saturdays, and my wife has a full time job too. But I'd be like, all right, give me something to do.
Oh man, you'd have to do wellness checks on me to make sure I'm still alive, buddy. I'm disappearing.
Yeah, no, I just I like doing stuff around the house. I just like staying busy, so I get it. But anyway, if you've just tuned in the last couple of minutes, Teddy Cahill, national college baseball reporter for Baseball America, says South Carolina and Paul Mainieri are in talks. Let's see here. Yeah, Elijah, you were just citing this, I guess. Let me go to Teddy's piece. When Mainieri retired 3 years ago, he writes, sources said he stepped down because of health issues as he suffered from migraine headaches in 2021. After his retirement, however, Mainieri has never gone far from coaching. He was involved in searches at Notre Dame in 22 and Miami in 23 before passing on both opportunities. He was the National Coach of the Year in 2009. Again, he has won the World Series. He has been the runner-up at the World Series, and he's got tons of championship success in the Southeastern Conference at LSU. So, and 3 years out, you got the itch. I'd love to know more about how this came about, and then clearly this is some type of, as I said, 11th hour situation. So maybe over the weekend?
Would have to.
Because I've talked to a lot of people who've been following a lot of this, and that this is just a name that did not come up. But then, now look, it was the weekend, but still, when things like this are rolling, sometimes there's word that trickles out, and it did go quiet this weekend.
Hey, to use an example of a coaching news bomb we didn't think we'd ever hear, John Calipari, in a span of 3 hours in one meeting with the CEO of Tyson and the Arkansas AD to help them pick who their next head coach is going to be, ultimately came to the conclusion, hey, why not you?
Right.
And guess what? It happened from the idea went from, helping you find your coach to, what? I'll be your next coach in 3 hours in a hotel room in Phoenix, Arizona. Yeah. It can happen that fast.
And this may be it. All right, hit us up. What do y'all think? If this is the guy, Coach Paul Mainieri, championship level, National Coach of the Year level guy, returning to the game at South Carolina after great success at Notre Dame and LSU. 803-404-6100 on the phone lines, the Firehouse Subs text line. You're listening to the Postgame Show. Nineteen minutes after 4 o'clock, Monday afternoon. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. Appreciate you being with us. Again, nothing to confirm yet. But if you've just tuned in the last little bit, Teddy Cahill, Baseball America, put out about a half hour ago that South Carolina is now targeting Paul Mainieri to become the next head baseball coach at the university. Coach Mainieri, of course, tremendous success at Notre Dame and LSU, at Air Force, too, before Notre Dame, but took Notre Dame to the World Series, obviously won national championship at LSU, multiple SECs, played for another national title. I believe they were the runner-up to Florida. Is that right? In 17? Check that out for me, Elijah, but I believe that's who they lost to. Retired after the 21 season, had a few health things.
Correct, it was Florida.
Thank you. And now could very well be interested in returning to South Carolina. Now, again, the verb that Teddy uses, targeting. Paul Mainieri. I'd like to know, and I'm quite serious before I get into some phone calls, is Carolina targeting him, or is this something, and just again, to throw further information into the mix, our very good friend David Cloninger has put out, so this will be public knowledge because it has to be, it's the law, that the South Carolina Board of Trustees has called a meeting for tomorrow at 4. And Teddy put this out a little before 4. So I'm trying to, piece it together here. I'm not like Hercule Poirot or anything, but you see some of these clues begin to link up. And David says that the purpose of tomorrow's board meeting is athletic contract. What was the official word? Don't worry about it. Athletic contracts.
Yes. Contract.
There was
contract approval.
Approval. Okay. And again, I've been told that they'd like to do the baseball hire first. If you missed it over the weekend, Bev Smith was let go. Good luck to her. And we'll be reaching out if he's available. Coach McDonald will be, to get Coach McDonald on this week, for his regular visits as our golf major correspondent. The U.S. Open up the road in Pinehurst. I've never been to Pinehurst.
Scotty Scheffler, heavy favorite to win it.
Watched a little bit of the Memorial yesterday, and that's a hard tournament to win. That baby's tiny. I guess it's nice to have a private jet, right? You don't have to worry about going through the airport.
With a crying toddler.
Yeah. That ain't a toddler. I need me a baby. That's a baby.
True, yeah.
That baby's like 2 weeks old or something, man. Whatever it is, not old. But Paul Mainieri looks like he has risen to the top of the list to take over at Carolina. I want to hear from you on Twitter at jphillips1075 or at 1075 the game. And again, hit us up on the text line. John would like to weigh in on the phone line, and he is up next. Hey, John.
Good afternoon, guys. I'm also just tuning in, so this is late breaking. So I'm sitting here a little stunned. It has a little feel of a Steve Spurrier, Lou Holtz hire, if we think about the football angle.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys have already talked about this because I've just tuned in. Is this potentially bringing on Paul with a Monty Lee coach and waiting angle?
I got no idea on that, man. Great question. And I do think, to be fair, in fact, Terry Ford just texted Elijah and me and said, how might this operate in the NIL space? I think you're going to have to go after, for lack of a better term, John, like, young and hungry assistants. Now, I'm not saying Monty can't fit that bill. Monty's not as young, perhaps, but still hungry. But I think Monty wants to be – we talked about this last week. Monty wants to be a head coach again, like, now. And from what we were told last week, it was ready to take the Citadel job. So that may still happen. So I couldn't answer that question. I think it's a fair question, though, in the sense, again – not to say he couldn't do it for a while longer, but Paul Mainieri's 66 years old. So you're not hiring somebody in their 40s that might want to be here 15 or 20 years or something like that. I don't think this is a quick fix either, but the Lou Holtz angle is interesting. Now, Coach Spurrier was here 12 seasons, or at least 11 seasons maybe. But, Lou, and I remember, listen, I had people tell me after the second bowl win, 2 straight wins over Ohio State, which would have been years 2 and 3. Lou told Mike McGee, "All right, I did what you needed me to do. I'm out." And listen, go ahead, John.
Interesting to hire a 66-year-old in an NIL era is a little head scratching, but that's why I think the Monty Lee thing is interesting.
Yeah,
you're almost forced to have a coach in waiting just based on the age.
That's fair.
The nature of work.
I think
it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, thanks for the phone call, buddy. I think that's a fair point to make.
A lot of people are asking that on our text line. That seems to be the common question: is would you keep Monty as an assistant? One, and is the age a concern? Age plus the previous health issues. Would that be a concern?
I think it has to be. I mean, why wouldn't it be, right? I mean, you wouldn't be honest with yourself if you said, "Oh, you retired for health reasons, but you're fine now." Yeah, you look great. No, you would, you need. And I'm not saying you're doing like when pro athletes get traded, or they're going to be, or pending his physical, right? There's always, you got, pending the physical. And, I feel like 95 out of 100 times everything's fine. But, maybe those other 5, we found a little something here. All right, deal's off. Or, let's restructure this a little bit. And I'm whether it's Monty Lee, a lot of you might say, okay, now is when you go get Landon Powell.
Already coming up on the text line. Yep. Landon Powell, assistant coach, ? From Christian.
Look, that Paul Mainieri is going to be able, as someone of his stature, to command the attention of a lot of coaches, assistant coaches. Now, here again, and what's his budget? That could be part of this. Again, the word being used is targeting. So now, is it about, all right, Ray, what are you now? Listen, these two guys are they know each other well, very well,
very familiar.
And one of the things now. I said last week on multiple occasions, so one of these things can still be accurate and the other one wouldn't be, and I say that tongue-in-cheek. What I said last week was what this fan base primarily wants is for Ray Tanner, as the athletics director, to go find a baseball coach that fits the bill of Ray Tanner of 20 years ago, and then do for that coach what was done for Ray Tanner 20 years ago to turn this program into the best baseball program in America, which was done. Now, you may not be able to do that again. The landscape has changed, but not so dramatically, perhaps, that South Carolina can't get back on top. The point I make is you don't need a new ballpark, but you will need some enhancements, but you will need young, hungry go-getters out on the recruiting trail. You will need someone who can be excellent with the numbers in terms of the NIL space. Listen, one of the things that I think gets lost in this, and I don't have as much of a concern about, is the transfer portal, and here's why. While now you are getting more guys directly from D1 schools who want to transfer, transfers in and out of baseball programs is as common as, the sun coming up every day. Junior college ranks, community colleges, you could still transfer, but sometimes you'd sit out. So in terms of the JUCO and community college especially, college baseball coaches, assistants, head coaches through the generations are very accustomed to that level of roster movement. The difference now is really just, again, that somebody from, East Carolina can go straight to NC State. Right? Somebody from Coastal can go to Georgia. Somebody from Carolina can go, whatever. I mean, look at Michael Braswell, went to LSU from Carolina. I could, y'all get it. Y'all get it. So that's that. The transfer stuff is not as much of a concern. How much money you got? How much money you got for your staff? How much money you got for your players? How much money you got to attract them and keep them? That's going to be the thing,
because that will directly affect the other.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to maybe be anti-transfer portal, but it's another one to see the money that you're going to have and the resources you could have to be like, okay, well, I can actually use this to my advantage and this could help me win. If you don't have one, it's going to be really hard to help the other.
All right, this thing is all of a sudden flying by. All right, let me hit a break. Hit us up. Again, more of y'all's thoughts. We're going to get to the Firehouse Subs text line, 803-404-6100. Let us know what you think about this. Again, national report, Paul Mainieri being targeted as Carolina's next baseball coach. You're listening to the Postgame Show. We're talking about the Gamecock baseball search, and an interesting twist in the saga came down a little less than an hour ago as Teddy Cahill, national college baseball reporter for Baseball America, put out the following, quote, multiple sources on Monday told Baseball America that South Carolina is targeting Paul Mainieri as its next head coach. As of yet, there is no confirmation that a deal is in place. That was the opening sentence of Teddy's piece that he put out. Again, it officially came down at 3:48. So like I said, a little less than an hour ago. The 2009 national title at LSU, 2017 runner-up in Omaha, losing to Florida. 39 seasons at LSU, Notre Dame, Air Force, and St. Thomas College of Florida. 8th on the all-time win list. The 2009 National Coach of the Year, but retired for health reasons. Was suffering from some pretty severe migraines, but did at least have some contact, as we've said a bunch here of late, kick the tires, maybe both sides kicking the tires when the jobs at at Miami and Notre Dame came open since he left LSU. And again, had the history, obviously, in South Bend. And that was after Link Jarrett left Notre Dame, that amazing run that they made to the College World Series, winning in Knoxville. And now Link, of course, is the head coach at his alma mater, Florida State. And they moved easily into the College World Series this weekend. This is, as you said, to use a couple of baseball terms that we use in life, out of left field or a big curveball. We had somebody hit us on Twitter. You could knock me over with a feather. Just had another buddy of mine. A buddy of mine hit me the other day and said, I want you to give me a tabloid list of names. So I did. And I said, Tony Vitello, Dave Van Horn, Brian Snitker, and the ghost of Tommy Lasorda. And he said, you could have put the current name on that list, and I'd have felt the same way in terms of how facetious you were being. And I was like, yeah, well, yeah.
I thought it was a prank. Terry sent me the link, about an hour or so ago, and I thought it was a prank. I thought it was fake. I was like, let me make sure that this link that says baseballamerica.com does not have, any type of one or number hidden in there to where, it makes you think,
Right.
like the fake Adam Schefter tweets where if you just look at the username, it's like Adam Schefter.
Well, the second that you said it to me, rather than go to Teddy's Twitter feed, I just went straight, because I have Baseball America as a tab. So I just went straight to Baseball America's web homepage.
Gotta make sure it was real.
And yeah, right there at the top was the link to click. And I was like, okay. So there it is.
Stunned.
To further this story, at least in some way, our good friend David Cloninger, beat writer for the Charleston Post and Courier, put out just a little while ago that the South Carolina Board of Trustees has called a 4 p.m. meeting tomorrow to discuss an athletic department contract. Again, the board must give 24-hour notice before they hold a meeting. Like I said earlier, that's the law. So, like I say, you do the math, and a Teddy Cahill piece comes up. Now, I'm not saying that this is about Teddy's report, right, other than Teddy gets some information in the 3 o'clock hour. And also, around that same time, probably not coincidentally, the Board of Trustees meeting gets called. So, like I said, it's hard for me to go get a lot of research done while we're on the air. I've thrown out a couple of texts to see what we get back. One very well-connected baseball source said to me, let me get to it again, just 2 words here. I think it was 2 or 3 words. It was, I am shocked, and then a follow-up text to that one, flabbergasted. And that's from a real good one. So I was like, okay.
I actually did get a text from somebody that that I've been talking to as well, very well connected with Ray, and said he's not surprised.
Yeah,
and I'm like, you're the only one.
Well,
or one of one.
I would just, and again, we'll find out. Not that it matters directly, but I would love to know when this came around, because look, here's some of the things we're hearing. All right, let's just flesh this out. I think the interest on both sides in Tom Walter was strong. How strong? I don't know. On a scale of 1 to 10, 7, maybe.
It was certainly enough to warrant multiple discussions.
Yes. There's no question that in terms of, if not interest, because I think the feeling around Monty Lee might be different than the feeling around Tom Walter. But, Monty's been Monty's been working, but there's definitely interest, from Monty in the Citadel job, which is maybe where he thought he was going to be headed. And again, the reasons that Monty could become the head coach at Carolina are they're all valid and solid. It's just that he's not going to be the top guy. But if the interest in Tom Walter and Monty Lee was still where it was on, Friday, by Saturday, did something come around? Has Ray been working on this, very quietly? Again, Saturday morning is when they told us that Bev Smith got fired. Now, you can do multiple things, I mean, you got a big department.
He's got assistants.
Yeah. But we did have a call earlier from our buddy Ernest. You've got 3 vacancies right now. And I know I've said this a couple times, but I'm just reiterating. I've been told that they want to, even if they don't necessarily make it, like I don't know where they are in the golf and softball searches. I do know that a leading candidate for the men's golf job was on campus this weekend. I don't know how far along they are, basically 2.5 days after letting Bev go for softball. But I was told that they would like to make the baseball announcement first. So it could well be, and again, now this is just me talking, all right? It could well be that they've told a golf coach, you're the guy. We're good, but we're not going to announce you until we've done the baseball thing first. And I think that way you get baseball done, and then move on to softball and golf in whatever order, depending on who you got. So and I think I know who you spoke with. Look, this is not something we've heard every other name, and we know where some of the interest was. This one was not one of those names as of
no.
The last time I did any meaningful digging on this was Saturday morning. And this name still had not emerged from the people I was speaking with at all. And that's both local people and national people. And by that point, I said, you know what? I got kids at home. It's Saturday. I got yard work to do. I got things.
Left the phone a little bit.
I did. And I just kind of, I was like, all right, well, if some news comes to me over the weekend, that's fine. And then this comes during the show.
Out of just total left field. I mean, M. Night Shyamalan type plot twist. And, a good question we can ask ourselves before we head into this break, because we did get a text on the text line. That's a good question, because there's a lot of initial reaction along with our shock of seeing this story.
Yeah.
A question by Dane says, would you guys say that this hire would be a home run? And that's an interesting one once we let the shock settle a little bit because of just how far out of left field this ended up being. From a baseball standpoint, where do we think this hire actually is?
Okay. Let me chew on that. I got thoughts.
I do too.
And I want to hear, we got more on the text line that we'll get to. And let's get into a lot of what you guys are saying. 803-404-6100, Firehouse Subs text line. What do you got on the potential of Paul Mainieri, one of the greatest of all time, coming to run the baseball program at the University of South Carolina? You're listening to the Postgame Show. 11 minutes in front of 5 o'clock on this Monday afternoon. Welcome back in. It's the Postgame Show. Jay Phillips and Elijah Campbell with you from the Herndon Chevy Studios, downtown Columbia, South Carolina. Do want to remind you that Elijah and I on Thursday will be at Angry Fish Brewing in beautiful Lexington, South Carolina. They make some good ones, man. We've been out there before.
I have only had a very select few.
Yeah.
Angry Fish, so I am pumped.
It's good. It's good. I think, what's their slogan? They
might be hanging around a little bit afterwards.
We drink all the beer we make and sell the rest or something. They have a funny little slogan, and I just screwed it up, but it's something like
that. You did, but we're going to
have
it down pat by Thursday.
It's clever.
That's for sure. We're gonna have that pretty efficiently down.
Are you have it in front of you? I don't have it in front of me because I got something else in front of me, but apparently the one and only Mr. John Whittle.
That's right. The GOAT.
Has some more?
John Whittle, this is the headline from the Big Spur. South Carolina set to hire Paul Mainieri as head baseball coach. First paragraph, South Carolina has zeroed in on its next baseball coach, and it's somewhat familiar but unexpected. National championship winning coach Paul Mainieri is coming out of retirement to lead the Gamecocks. The Board of Trustees, which is scheduled to meet on Tuesday at 4 p.m., will still have to approve the hire of Mainieri.
They will.
I have a good feeling. Yeah.
Getting
a little choked up.
Yeah, well, I didn't see this one coming. Now, we had a question just a minute ago. Is this a so-called home run hire? Yeah. Yeah. I know
Leaning towards it.
Yeah, I don't want to sit here and say, oh no, it's a triple or something like that. Is it a grand slam? I mean, let's try not to use too many puns and analogies here. Yes, and someone earlier mentioned it. This really could be a lot like hiring Lou Holtz. The difference is Lou Holtz took over something that had turned into complete crap. And it stayed that way for a year. So if you want to make that analogy, and I'm not saying that the guy was talking that way about the baseball program, but again, this baseball program was a 1 seed in 23 and a 2 seed in 24 and was on its way to being a 1 seed again. When the first official projections were coming out, South Carolina was number 10 in the country. And then it slid away from them. So this program's in pretty good shape. And again, the irony, if you will, is that of the 3 head coaches that just got fired last week or within the last 2 weeks, all of them made the NCAA tournament. So, there's that. This is a fantastic hire. This is a man who brings tremendous winning culture. He's not taking the job to do Ray Tanner a favor. In other words, Paul Mainieri clearly wants this job. Again, my biggest question is, how did this come about? Has he been there all along? Or was there someone who, and again, I don't know yet. We'll find out. Ray, did you call Paul? Paul, did you call Ray? Did somebody call somebody who knew somebody? Is this one of those, Ferris at 31 flavors kind of a things, and we play the telephone game until somebody says, sure. I mean, I don't know all those things, but this is a really, really, really big hire. And while it might not be the kind of name because he's 66 years old that you go, wow, again, if you could have gotten I don't know how old Dave Van Horn is, but Dave's probably about the same age.
Yeah.
So if you want to look at the hotter young coaches of today, Link Jarrett, Tony Vitello, guys like that, Chris Powell, or Pollard, excuse me, Powell, Landon Powell's who I'm thinking of. Sorry, Chris Pollard. I just looked down at a text that said, get me Landon as the assistant coach. My bad. Even Cliff Godwin, who's in his 40s. But none of those dudes have won the national title. And Coach Mainieri's played for 2 of them. Now, Ray played for 4. But that shows you where Ray is. I had somebody say, man, what if Ray had just stayed? Well, I'm not having that conversation.
If ifs and ands were pots and pans,
Yeah.
the world would be a kitchen, brother.
I'm not having that conversation. But yeah, I would expect that Carolina would have played for a couple more national titles. But sure, okay, there now I had that conversation. Yes, I think this is huge for South Carolina, if only because it shows that you can go lure this guy out of retirement. Again, I've been told, y'all, and I've said this on the air, that Tom Walter had heavy interest in this job. So I don't think it's ever been that you couldn't go get a big name. But just, again, how did this particular specific scenario come about? Again, I'll try to do a little bit more digging in the next couple of minutes. See what we find out for you. Headlines of the day. drive around the SEC. We'll get you set up for the final game of the Super Regionals. It's going to be an all ACC SEC affair. It's a matter of what the percentage split is. So a lot to do in the final hour of the postgame show.